2023. And if you are like me, I am definitely like you, and we are counting down to the end of the month because something usually happens at the end of the month. Oh, ye salary earners, say oh yeah. Yeah, it is what it is. But for those of you that do business, I'm happy for you because the salary comes at any time. I mean, right now you're earning. And if you're earning in foreign currency, please, I'm your friend. So do remember me in paradise. That's on a lighter note, by the way. So today is one of those days I get to share the shortest time with you on the sunny side because once it's 1 o'clock, I am out of here after trending stories. We have a live appearance coming up. That's at 10 minutes past 1. And it's going to run up until 1:30. And then we have the FinTech Show, a recorded program that will run up until 2 o'clock. And then the 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock hour, we would have Talking Figures, and Choma is and Wafo would be here on that one. So we'll try to make the most of the limited time that we have together today. Without further ado, today is International Day of Education. But we're not just going to be talking about education on a general note. We'll paying particular attention to classroom accessibility for persons with disabilities. I have a guest and I will be introducing her shortly. So how about we catch our breath and then we dive right into the conversation. Now, do remember you can join the conversation and watch us live on X at Nigeria Info PH is our X handle. Our Facebook page is Nigeria Info 92.3 PH. So go there, drop your comments in the comment section, and in the course of the conversation, I would gladly read them. Our smart number is 070 0923 0923. You can have that on speed dial 070 0923 0923. Keep a number handy, save it on your devices, because for every time we have a conversation on Nigeria Info, you get through to us via that number. You can also call 0817 923 0002 and 0817 923 0003. For your WhatsApp and Telegram messages, the number is 0809 030 6416.
Different ideologies.
For so long, we have all agreed that the right to education is fundamental to an individual's ability to learn and empower themselves. And when we talk education, we're not just talking formal education, informal education, semi-formal education as we have it. Education has the power to transform lives and offer a pathway out of poverty. It can also be the foundation of more peaceful, just, and sustainable society. For every society to get to that point of development, to be able to go head to head with other nations of the world, the level of education of that nation will tell a great deal. And that is why today, which is the 24th of January, it has been set aside by UNESCO to celebrate the International Day of Education. Now take note of the following things I'm about to say, because it may shock you that 1 in 3 children is out of school in Nigeria. We're looking at a nation that offers free education. I mean, almost every local government you go to, you will find a school provided by the state, and it is supposed to be free for the children in that environment. Now, if you come upwards to the city, you would find the private schools, but yes, again, they're still government-owned schools. And then some individuals have taken it upon themselves to offer free education. So there are still some private schools that are equally free for all. But you see, 10.2 million at the primary level.
We are back. This is your number one talk station, Nigeria Info.
Sincerest apologies for that. As I was saying, 10.2 million at the primary level and 8.1 million at the junior secondary school level. We also have 12.3 12.4 million children who have never attended school and 5.9 million left school early. Nigeria's out-of-school children population accounts for 15% of the global total. Now, in addition to socioeconomic reasons, we'll learn today from our guest that there are also structural reasons. This should be centered around accessibility to the classrooms, and it's one of the reasons why people are out of school, and it is only fitting that we discuss it today on the International Day of Education. Without further ado, I would like to introduce my wonderful, beautiful-looking guest, Adaobi Chuma-Okeke. Good afternoon to you and welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Denise.
Yes, so glad to have you here with us. She is a tech expert and a change leader with, please help me pronounce that one.
Nguvu Collective.
Nguvu Collective. Thank you. I didn't want to murder it. So, shall we begin, if you do not mind? Like I said, you can join the conversation on X at Nigeria Info page is our X handle, and our Facebook page is Nigeria Info 92.3 PH. So tell me, Adaobi, as a person living with a physical disability, how does the structure of a classroom limit one from getting an education?
The structure of a classroom actually limits one from getting education because if you can't enter the classroom, especially for formal education and even informal education, in every type of education, you have to be able to be with your tutor, your teacher, and actually hear, listen. If it's formal education, be able to write down what is being taught, see what's on the board and stuff like that. And once you can't get into the classroom, then the point of education is defeated because you're not learning. You can say, okay, I could read my textbooks, but there's just this thing about the teacher or lecturer being able to break it down to your understanding because they have experience and they know these things. So once you can't get in a classroom, which for persons living with disability, especially those who use a wheelchair, it starts from even the door. There's a standard for the width of a door, so wheelchairs can actually have access into a room. But in Nigeria, I have realized, or from research, I have seen that most doors don't meet the standard. And the standard is a minimum of 32 inches and a maximum of 48 inches, which is able to accommodate any size of wheelchair, but it's not being enforced, it's not being done for doors. So from the door, you can't even get into the classroom, and then it could be sitting arrangements or anything, but those structures that would actually make it impossible to get education for persons with disability. Okay,
I will come back to this because we currently live in a society where everyone is doing things virtually. I mean, I know someone who is in Nigeria but have gone to schools in different parts of the world and he need to be there physically. So what about that option for persons with disability?
There's that option. I've actually finished a diploma online and I'm currently doing a second degree online. But it depends on the course and it depends on the school, and then the person or the student, does he or she have access to data? Data subscription is quite pricey today, and going to normal school is actually way cheaper than doing online. Then you have to check power. Do you have the facility to be able to power your system, your phone, your laptop, to be able to sustainably be in class? Those are issues that we face peculiarly in Nigeria because of the way our system is.
Our system is. Okay, now you are an alumna of the University of Port Harcourt. What did you study, by the way?
Human anatomy.
Interesting. Interesting. So tell us about your experience at Uniport. How are you able to access your classroom? I mean,
wow, that's a story actually. Because initially, in my first semester year one, I was able to attend classes normally. I didn't think that I was different from every other person walking their legs. That was because we're using MBA 1 for classes then we were moved as College of Health Sciences students or Medical Sciences. We were moved to another class, and that class was College Hall, which had a flight of stairs, or at least five steps to get to it or something. And then the door wasn't even accessible. So when they moved us there, that was like second semester year one, I couldn't attend classes anymore. I had to remain outside in the car park every day petitioning. My mom wrote letters to the school authority. They said, they couldn't open the adjoining classroom because they had some specimens there. They didn't want me to contaminate it. And my mother was like, what am I going to do with your specimen? But I couldn't enter the whole of second semester year one, and half of first semester year 2, I was miserable. Because I wasn't living in school, I would drive from home every day with my driver, and my dad would pay for the fuel, and I was wasting my school fees. I was wasting transportation. It was heartbreaking. I would cry sometimes, and they didn't seem like it was going to be a headway. And because that was apparently the class for college students or people in medical sciences, I didn't see any way I was actually going to ever end up in class until I finished in year 4. But a friend of mine who was in dentistry then, I think one day he just looked at the classroom. I was like, I think something can be done. And he moved the pews in class to give me space to be able to enter from the door. Because already I think I attempted, because I can be a bit of a renegade, so I think I tried entering class once or twice. But there was a very fateful day where I fell off the wheelchair because I was being lifted in the air.
Oh.
And the lecturer had to stop in mid-lecture and shout, and then people around had to come catch me. And I was like, okay, this is how I was going to die. I was going to fall from like 5 meters up. So because of that, I stopped going for classes because I had attempted once or twice and it wasn't safe. And that was one of it. And then I had practicals, human anatomy. We deal with dead bodies. We had to go to anatomy lab and physics and chemistry in year 1. And some of those labs were 5 stories up, 3 stories up. I look back now and I feel blessed and honored because I don't know how I got into those places, but generally people would just come, 4 people would help carry me up. When they get tired, we'll change to 4 new people, but basically people were always around to help carry me up. And that was not supposed to be their responsibility. They were not supposed to have to carry somebody else up flights of stairs every time there was a practical, just because somebody or a system is not working. So that was my story in Port Harcourt.
So did they do anything about the classrooms at the end of the day?
Nothing was done. I just had to find my way to not let my school fees waste.
And I'm glad you graduated. And I'm glad. I mean, appreciation to those people who had stood up for you and also assisted you to get into the classroom to learn. Now, you started a campaign asking the Vice Chancellor of the University of Port Harcourt to build ramps to help students with wheelchairs access classrooms. Can you tell us about that particular campaign and how it went? Was it successful at the end of the day? Was it a waste of time or something?
I wouldn't say it was just a waste of time, but it's I don't know how I'm going to put it, but some kind of things take time, basically, and having a change like that is going to mean that a lot of people are going to have to change their mentality and the way they look at things. I'm just tackling one angle of the problem. Generally, in Nigeria, the country is not disability friendly. I've not been able to get into a bank for as long as I can remember because the doors are not accessible for me. So basically, the campaign was born out of a passion to see that someone else in my situation doesn't go through what I went through to get an education. It shouldn't be so difficult to actually get an education because it's your right to get educated. If you want to get educated, then nothing should stop you from getting the education you want. So that pushed me, and when I saw the opportunity on Change.org to actually campaign and write petitions and make sure that somebody out there listens to me, hears my story, realizes that it's actually important to have people who are living with disability get the education they want and need just for a better Nigeria, just for a better country, to help them as well as help the country, because education is key.
All right, education is key indeed. Now, you are just one person. I mean, the University of Port Harcourt is just one institution. In River State alone, we have the Kensariwa Polytechnic, we have the Kapti Dedechi Amadi Polytechnic, we have the Ignatius Ejuru University of Education, we have RSU, used to be UST. What other institutions do we have here in River State? Okay, those are the ones I can remember now. Have you ever, reached out? Have you been in contact with some people with special abilities like you and how they've fared so far attending classrooms in some other institutions? Maybe not in River State, maybe in other states of the Federation.
I'll say no. Sadly enough, I've not been able to do that because that would require funds. I don't, there's a commission, the National Commission for Persons Living with Disability. I registered on their website and felt that maybe I'll be able to link up with other people who are living with disability. But I've not been able to. The only people I've been able to link up with are those who are blind.
Okay.
Yeah, but I know one or two having faced challenges, but it's a case of, okay, you've gone to school, you conquered, you can't fight this alone, and everybody just moves on with what they can.
All right, if you're just joining us, still the sunny side right here in your number one station for Talk 90.3 Nigeria Info FM. Today is the International Day of Education, and we're talking classroom accessibility for persons with disabilities. I mean, when you look at the structure of some of these institutions, are there plans that have been made, or are there structures in place for these group of individuals, or do they just assume and just do things as they like and assume that they will find their way? And I did say that I had a guest, or I still have a guest in the studio, Adaobi Chuma-Okeke, who is a tech expert and a change leader as well. Now, I will open the phone lines. Maybe you're listening to this conversation and maybe you've had someone close to you, a family member who is living with a disability and may or may not have, been to school. Have you guys been able to navigate all of that up until date? Okay, whether the person is a minor, whether the person is an adult. Sometimes the minors will have to rely on their parents or guardians for assistance. What if the person is an adult as well? So feel free to be a part of the conversation. The number again is 070-0923-0923, and then of course we have the WhatsApp and Telegram number, which is 0809 030616 030616. You can join the conversation on X as well. Our X handle is @NigeriaInfoPH. On X @NigeriaInfoPH. And then of course Facebook page, you can watch us live, is Nigeria Info 92.3 PH. Now we will come back to campaign and awareness and support, but let's go back to education, which is like the foundation for this conversation. Why indeed is education so important for our Nigerian society?
There's a lot that can be said about education. Like, education is key. It's the way forward. It's what opens up nations. Nigeria would not be classified a third world country if we were more educated, more literate. Because education opens up the mind, it builds a person, it enhances your skills, it gives you knowledge, it builds character, it does a whole lot for a person. And if people are not educated, then I feel like they rob themselves of their future, they narrow their chances of actually achieving all that they can, and there's a lot of potential in people, there's a lot of potential in Nigerians, and we need to be educated to actually bring out those potentials, because education does a lot from giving you confidence to be able to speak in public. It does a lot for a person. So I think everyone should be educated no matter what. It doesn't matter if you have a learning disability or something, you can get educated. There is just that little you can learn day by day to better your lot and help yourself.
All right, I have some messages here, but we will come back to what you have said though. This one is on Facebook from the persons that are watching live on Facebook. We have a message from Udeme Udofia, and he says government has a lot here to do. These people are human beings like others who are not disabled. Mpaka Makri also on Facebook says the management of Uniport should consider people with disability while providing their infrastructure. Now, it's not just Uniport. How many universities do we have in Nigeria again? And it's not just the universities, though. I mean, we have nursery schools, we have primary schools, and we have secondary schools as well. Now, back to you, Adaobi. Now, you have said education is important. I'm sure every other person listening will agree that education is important. But still in this country, we have seen people who have been through the four walls of a learning institution. And they have come to say things like, education, education help. I've seen people on some blogs hearing their certificates. I beg. Yes! People will even make references to the likes of Mazumbe that owns a Meta, and that didn't finish, so he didn't. Like, the people that are educated, that are championing things, tell you how if you go to much of the big people, all tenors and all the rest, most of them do have formal education.
Wow, that's going on for a while, and I want to say to people, I would have said, to each own, but people underestimate the fact that everybody approached education initially from the point of that, I got the opportunity, possibilities out of being educated. It mustn't be monetary value only. There's a whole lot education does for a person. I wouldn't have been here today if I wasn't educated. It helped open my mind. I was able to network and connect with people. I realized that I didn't have to be alone in my world, that I could actually live my life to the fullest. These are things that education does for a person. So if you're not educated, I don't know. I think already your mind is going to be narrowed. So people should get educated. I'm not saying go do a PhD. There are so many ways to get educated. Even as little as going to primary school is education. Be able to read and write and communicate. If you want to make money, you have to be able to communicate with people and communicate rightly so you don't get cheated and they don't scam you or you scam somebody. So basically, everyone needs to get educated. Even if you don't, you're a business person, you tend to buy things. You have to sign or write a receipt. You have to draw up contracts. There's a lot. Education is key and fundamental in everything we do. We can't run away from it no matter how we want to.
All right. This year's theme for International Day of Education is focusing on education as a tool for lasting peace. What is your opinion on that?
I've been thinking about it all day, and basically, I guess it's a tool for lasting peace because it opens your mind up to knowledge. And I know one way of reaching peace most times is through dialoguing and discussions and just getting to hear everybody's point of view and then understanding each other and then forging a way ahead. So basically, if people are educated, they have more knowledge at hand, and knowledge, you say, is power. You're able to now understand the other person. You're able to discuss logically, diplomatically, and solve your issues. And it builds your culture, it builds your character, it builds your behavior. So you know how to comport yourself and deal with issues. You don't see educated people who really appreciate education being barbaric or fighting on the road and doing things that are not the norm for somebody who is supposed to carry the person's self with elegance. So I think education would help in peace because the knowledge alone would help people be able to understand themselves and discuss on a platform where everybody can come together and work things out.
All right, then, again, the number 070-0923-0923, 070-0923-0923. We have the WhatsApp and Telegram number, which is 0809-030-6416, 0809-030-6416. Join the conversation on X. X handle again is at Nigeria Info PH, and Facebook page remains Nigeria Info 92.3 PH. Now, my question to you, before I ask the question to Adaobi, would be how can more people get awareness and support campaigns geared towards classroom accessibility for persons with disability? Nigeria Info, good afternoon to you and welcome to the sunny side.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okonkwo from Rubukuta.
Okonkwo, you're welcome.
My question is, why is it that the level of education is just to know how to read and write and address or express ourselves? Why is it that it has not gotten to the point of producing and investing in machines like aircraft, television, handsets, caterpillars and cranes? Why is it that it has not gotten to that level? So that's my question.
Okay, you're talking about the Nigerian education.
When will we get to that level?
Okay.
Thank you.
Adaobi, why are we not inventing aircrafts and televisions and the rest? Why is our education here always centered around reading and writing?
I guess we could trace it back to the fact that the education system is, I don't want to say dead because that would be macabre. Basically, education has been stagnated since the 80s. We have not caught up with the times. We've not upgraded. Funds have not even been put into education. I know when I was following the education trend, I realized that Nigeria is steadily not funding education according to the dictates or the policies set by, I think, UN. There's a particular percentage that the budget is supposed to allocate, the national budget is supposed to allocate to education in a year, and Nigeria always falls short for whatever reason. They'll come up with excuses and they won't do that. So you see schools struggling to hike up school fees, use it to take care of even maintaining the poor infrastructures they have. It's a lot. So they don't now get to invest in building teachers, lecturers, getting to know what's happening in the world, opening the minds of people. And going to school alone is stress in Nigeria. Most people just want to go to school and make money and be comfortable. So nobody's bothering or thinking of creativity. Let's make something. Let my name be known for this. Let me be famous, not for music or acting, but let me create something that people get to use and remember for the rest of their lives. But I'm glad that tech has come into the country and people are latching onto it with speed. So I am hopeful that that would help.
You know, sometimes when we talk about how our education has been for some decades now, a lot of people will go back to the problem of the curriculum. Some people would opine that our curriculum is somewhat outdated.
True.
I mean, the world over, they are moving ahead, and we are still stuck with the same theories of the 20s and the 30s and the 40s and the 50s. As it was in the beginning, so it is and forever shall be. So what do institutions need to be doing? I mean, it's not just about, it's not about adopting a curriculum. Sometimes you try to marry it with a situation. Sure. I mean, other climes will have a curriculum, and when they go and teach theory and they are practical about it, they can in some way somehow merge it with the society as you have it over there. But some people would say it's not the same for some of us. And that's why some people clamor to school outside the country, because they feel like it's better opportunities for them, broadens their horizon more. You know, some way somehow increases their respect. You know, when you come back and say that I schooled in the abroad, people look at
that
you.
That certificate you have, rep.
Okay, so let me read some messages I have on Facebook. Prince Kalada Okojaja says, well done, Adobe. We at Rugged Steps Foundation for African Youth Development are proud of you. Truth is, inclusive education implies that education, quantity and able children, irrespective of their individual circumstances. Then is from Madobina, saying that she must have had people who had been burnt to encourage her to go to school. My question is, can she go out to the trenches and educate or sensitize who are disabled?
But because of the fact that disability mobility is not for me, it's fun to realize people. Because I think I'm actually working and projecting for the future, because I've heard of people who don't want to go to school. I went to school because I've always been passionate about education. And a lot of people advised me, oh, don't go to university, you don't need to go to school. Okay, study something that is not stressful. I'm like, my mind is fruitful and it's fertile. Why would I not explore it to the fullest? So when people were telling me, oh, go do an arts course, I was like, I'm going to do science. I want to be a doctor. But unfortunately, Nigeria struck and I didn't get medicine. But I do believe that there's a lot that can be done to encourage people who have lost hope and think that, oh, because they are disabled or living with disability, they can't actually go to school. I know that funds are going to be a challenge. Movement is going to be a challenge. Some people can't walk and they don't even have crutches or a wheelchair to move from point A to point B. So that already is what they're even dealing with. They are not now thinking of education. Some can't even eat. It's just a whole bunch of things, a myriad of problems that would have to be tackled one at a time. But yes, I do believe that people should be encouraged to go to school because they can do a lot. A lot of people don't have the encouragement. I think some people, their families just forget them and abandon them and think that nothing good will come out of them. And those people need to be encouraged and picked up.
All right then. And the question I'm asking the listener is the same question I'll ask you at this point. How can more people get awareness and support? And like you said, sometimes there's a limit to how much one person can do when it comes to championing a cause. But more people need to be aware. More people need support. And it's all geared towards classroom accessibility for persons with disabilities.
I guess I would say we need to keep making noise about it on social media, radio, TV, anywhere we can, until somebody.
Sorry, I'm laughing. Something just rang in my head when you said make noise. But go ahead.
Because that's literally that's all we can do at this point. Just create the awareness through every means possible. Social media is active all day, every day, so that is a tool that we are using. On change.org, which is in Nguvu Collective now. We have a system where people get to subscribe through emails and then they get to see all these campaigns and then they get to support it and sign the petitions and all that. So those are just ways. And then media is like our best our best friend. That's like the...
All right then. A message on WhatsApp. If the university degree I slaved for years can't help me pay my bills, then there's no need to get it. Apply fairness. There's another question I would ask you, and then we'll round off on this conversation. Ogorita says, well done, Chuma-Okeke Adaobi. We're proud of you and your resilience to study and be better despite your present state. Keep pushing, girl. And this other one says, we've been discussing inclusion quite a bit recently, and nowhere is that more important than in the classroom. As we all know, education is the number one contributing factor to a person's quality of life. A good education will give a child the best opportunity to reach their goals. So it's essential that educators have the necessary skills to facilitate a quality learning environment for students with disability. Teachers have a tough job. They may have 20 or more kids in a classroom, each with their own learning needs and challenges. We hope that through our recommendations for inclusive teaching accommodations, we can help to improve accessibility in schools for disabilities. Now, Adaobi, let me ask you this. I understand that for the average Nigerian who has been to school, the person still struggles with finding their feet when it comes to getting jobs. All right. How much more a person with disability? Now, this is why I asked this. After you may have scaled through, or you may have won getting access into the classroom or exploring other options available to you to get education, what is the use of the education if you cannot, what's the word now, practice and explore the opportunities that are bound to you? So we're not just saying structures of the school. What about the structures of the places where you would like to practice? For example, you did human anatomy. I mean, ordinarily speaking, you're supposed to probably be maybe UPTH or somewhere.
Yes.
How about accessibility to those places? So, I mean, what will the education, how useful would it be if you're still going to be faced with the challenge of accessing office complexes and work environments and all of that?
I think that's why everyone should get educated. Education helps you fight better, gives you the knowledge you need. Where there's a will, there's a way. Basically, I think in my life, the most accessible place to me is the hospital. Which is ironic because hospitals actually make it possible that wheelchairs and all can get in and out.
If the people that need your services cannot access you, what's the point?
Every other place has not been accessible, and it's a problem. I decided to start from education because that's like the first step. Get educated first, then we'll talk about companies and parastatals and how to get into those places, because like I said, I've not been able to enter a bank for a couple of years. I think they changed all their doors, and then it's difficult for the wheelchair to pass through. And I once entertained working in the bank, but when I looked at the doors, I was like, it's not possible. I can't work in a bank. And it's upsetting, but these are the things we have to deal with. It's a systemic problem that Nigeria started off and did not think that people would be disabled or living with disability. So they didn't even make allowances from the roads for people to be able to wheel on the roads, to buses to be able to accommodate people with their wheelchairs, to a whole lot. There's just a whole lot. I'm grateful that people are becoming aware, and maybe shopping malls are beginning to have ramps and elevators and all that. But it's compared to what is needed, that's just like it's not up to 10% of what needs to be done. It's really little.
Okay. Rosemary Keshi's Asaka says, well done, Adaobi. You're one of the strongest person I know. Please keep being strong. And I pray you all get all the support you need. Okay. Prince Kalada also says, general education goes hand in hand with social development, so it's important to facilitate social interaction by including group activities. If a student has a speech-related disability, working with a speech pathology professional may help a teacher inform non-disabled peers how to use different styles of communication and inclusive language that can create a more welcoming and accepting social environment. By incorporating group activities, students have the opportunity to develop social skills such as communication, teamwork, and leadership, while also building positive relationship with their peers. Working with a speech pathology professional can also help teachers create accommodations and modifications that support participation and inclusion of students with speech impairments in group activities. Ultimately, promoting social development through group activities and inclusive communication can foster a more inclusive and supportive learning environment for all students. So it's not just movement. He's also talking about the classroom setup for some people, speech impairments, visual impairments, as many as you can possibly think of. All right, so final words from you, Adaobi, as we round off the conversation. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me read this one first. For me, money, connection, and power is my drive to whatever cause it is. What's the need of having a degree in a number of courses that you don't have, but you don't have money? When you step into it, you aren't recognized and you can't make some orders and get obeyed. Nobody eats degrees. Education will give you a weapon to defeat Sakpa. But if it doesn't, because you are in one climb that doesn't know your worth, then it's not worth it. I have plans to study mortuary science one day. I need money, I beg. I'm Pi Flemis. Okay. Okay. So yeah, your final words as we round up the conversation.
I'll just say that education is really important, and when we think education, we should think inclusivity, because education helps everybody in the long run. And people should not, because persons with disabilities, they're educated, they're better able to help themselves and be independent and live their life to the fullest. So it's worth looking at. People should make sure that everybody, irrespective of disability the person has a chance to get educated. It's really important.
Can I ask you this question quickly? When it comes to structure, would it make sense to have separate classrooms or separate buildings for persons with disability in a learning environment?
I would say no, because of the fact that we want a well-rounded individual. You're not going to have to deal with only people that have a disability all your life. You're going to deal with people who don't have. And the earlier you get to mix with them and learn teamwork and how to work in groups and learn how to tolerate people and conflict resolution and stuff like that, it would help the mind and the person generally. So it's not.
Thank you so much, Adaobi. Like I said, it's our shortest day on the sunny side today. When I mean shortest between you and I. The show ends at 3 p.m. But Talking Figures comes up 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. And between the 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock hour, after Trending Stories, we would have a recorded program and a live appearance as well. So do stay tuned. We've been talking to Adaobi Chuma-Okeke, tech expert and change leader. International Day of Education, it is today. And classroom accessibility for persons with disabilities has been the conversation. Follow us on X at Nigeria Info PH, Facebook page Nigeria Info 92.3 PH, on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM _PH. Follow me on X and Instagram at _Denise_Dennis. Follow my Facebook page Denise Dennis, and follow my Facebook account Denise Dennis Waller. Do enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. I'll be back here tomorrow, same time, 12 noon to 3 p.m. and we'll have the entire day to ourselves. Adios.